Washington. We can now bring in Todd Belt, professor and political management program director at George Washington University. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Donald Trump has signaled a willingness to withdraw ICE from Minneapolis. Is Alex Pretti's killing a turning point for for Donald Trump's presidency?
Well, thanks for having me on again. It's great to be with you. I think it absolutely is. That article in in the Wall Street Journal that you just mentioned also had Donald Trump saying that he wants a full investigation and he's not really clear on what happened, which is a significant step back. We've seen with Renee Good, and at least at the beginning of the coverage of Alex Pretti, is that the administration went hard on their language and said, look, ICE was in the right and they were fully behind them. And it's the protesters' fault. And now they're starting to backtrack on that. And as you said, Donald Trump is even thinking of trying to remove some of these troops. So this is a real change in the stance of the administration.
Because just like you mentioned, just for like they did for Renee Good's death, the administration has sort of tried to justify the actions of these ICE agents, but the images speak for themselves. This ICU nurse was not trying to pull out his weapon or aiming it at anyone.
That's exactly right. I mean, we live in a world where you can't just say this is what happened because everybody has their cell phones out now. And in fact, in the new bill that's going through the House of Representatives, there's $20 million for body cameras and a requirement for ICE to start wearing body cameras. That was part of the compromise that they came up with, in addition to more training for de-escalation and independent oversight of the detainee facilities. So there is a bit of pushback here at the federal level, at least from Congress. We'll see what the Senate does this week.
We had two former U.S. presidents who put out statements over the weekend, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. But also at the Sundance Film Festival, we had actors who have sort of towed the line, break with the norm and speak out. Take a listen to what Natalie Portman had to say.
It's very joyful to be at a film festival and in a creative community celebrating film together. But what is happening in our country is just obscene, and what Trump and Kristi Noem and ICE are doing to our citizens is, and to undocumented people, is outrageous and needs to end.
Actor Mark Ruffalo had a similar thing to say at the Golden Globes. Now, of course, since then, we've had the second American to be killed at the hands of ICE. For how much longer can Americans take this?
This is a real good point. Now, while it's true that celebrities don't really change people's opinions on things, they make a reinforcement of the opinions people already have. In our GW Politics poll, we found that 71% of Americans support restrictions on illegal immigration, and a good portion support deportation, but it's the way that this is happening and the videos that are coming out that are really causing people to, even Republicans, we've seen a number of high-ranking Republican governors and senators express their concern over this. This is really a challenge for the president and a challenge for the administration. They can't get through just by trying to look tough and deflect all blame on the protesters.
Yeah, because last week as well, we had the ICE agents use a 5-year-old to try and lure his family out. So that at one point, we're also going to have supporters of the president who thinks his policies have gone too far.
Right. Yeah, there are supporters of the president who thinks he's gone too far, but we should be clear. Remember, Donald Trump was elected on deportations begin on day one. And we also found in our poll that close to 40% of Donald Trump's voters think it's okay to separate children from their family members. So there is a big constituency that Donald Trump has. It's just this is a small fragment of the electorate. He's losing the rest of America.
But Todd, deportations are one thing. Now the ICE agents are killing American citizens. If this was any other country in the world, the European Union would have put out a statement and probably sanctioned individuals. But because this is the United States, they haven't done it for now. Is that what needs to happen?
I'm sure. And if you look at what's going on in Iran and versus the United States and what Donald Trump is saying about the protesters in Iran versus the protesters here, it's a real difference in opinion on who's right and who's wrong. I don't know that any European statement would change what Donald Trump is doing. It would only cause him to dig in even more. The one thing that's really going to change his mind is Republicans around him.
What can local authorities in Minnesota do to protect citizens from more citizens from being killed at the hands of ICE? This until, of course, the U.S. president pulls these ICE agents from the vicinity.
Right. This is the real big thing that Governor Walz has put into his directives for the National Guard and the local police force, which is try to de-escalate situations and to separate ICE officials from the protesters. And that's really the only thing they can do. But a lot of these ICE raids, they're unannounced. You don't know where they're going to be, and people are out around looking for ICE people. And so it's hard for those local law enforcement officers to respond in time.
I saw that in Minneapolis, the residents have set up a sort of system with whistles to alert each other when these ICE raids are taking place. I mean, is that something we're going to see now spread across cities as these ICE agents move their activities from city to city?
I think for sure. I mean, that whistle has become a real symbol of solidarity among the people in Minnesota, and I think you'll see it elsewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more apps being developed that would be tracking where ICE is based upon others' input.
Todd Belt, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.